Admittedly, I'm a bit of a connoisseur when it comes to junk food. I frequent your local McDonald's, your Burger Kings, and yes, I even partake in the rather devilish Arby's from time to time. What? Somebody has to stand up for them. Listen, they're not as bad as you think. I swear. Look, hear me out, okay? Listen, hey, their Reuben is good. For fast food, it's a solid Reuben. I know these establishments aren't what some people may consider healthy. Like, when a salad is calorically worse off than a Big Mac, somebody's messing up. Hell, some of these places aren't even good tasting, I'll be honest. But what ultimately draws me back into their grasp, time and time again, is the sense of familiarity. Any way you spin it, a quarter pounder is gonna taste like a quarter pounder, anywhere, any place, any time. Those burgers aren't loaded with hard to pronounce chemicals for no reason after all. And with the ever so consistent flavor comes a certain level of nostalgia and comfort. Such strong melancholic feelings make me feel warm and cozy inside. And I have the exact same feelings when it comes to sitcoms. Specifically what you would call a multi-cam sitcom. So think less Community and more so How I Met Your Mother, aka how to stretch one story out for 8.5 years. I mean, I'll be brutally honest, nobody under the age of 40 is going to be talking about the deep, subtle nuances of The King of Queens. Mainly because, yeah, there's nothing to that show, but also because I think we're all at the very least subconsciously aware that, yeah, these shows are kind of trash. I mean, you're not gonna find an hour-long video essay talking about Ross and Rachel's character dichotomy, and I can already see the comments. What about Seinfeld? What about this? What about that? How dare you insinuate Friends is trash? All my homies love Friends. Well, I'm sorry, your homies are fucking normies, babe. Whew, that was a little cynical. I don't want to get too ahead of myself now, but don't worry, I'll address all of your concerns later on in this video. But as of right now, I just want to talk about the common grievances that seemingly plague every sitcom, just like BO plagues every Melee player. Oh, you guys are laughing at that joke? I mean, I thought it was kind of mid, but you know, that's cool. Anyways, I do just want to quickly note that a lot of these shared problems are inherent from a typical sitcom structure that has become commonplace over the many years. And thus it's less of a problem with any particular show and more of a problem with the overall structure and network executive orders to adhere to that structure. And guys, that wasn't even a joke. Please, I gotta get through this script. Stop. What are you guys laughing at this point? Seriously, stop laughing. You got a lot of shit to do. Okay, what's so funny? Huh? What's going on, huh? Can you guys even hear me anymore? When televisions were first being made, the idea of watching something in the comfort and safety of your own home was such a weird and foreign concept. Normally to get an experience like that, you would have to go to a cinema or a theater. So to make the idea of home television a little less strange, a lot of programs implemented recording in front of live studio audiences. That way, they could record the reactions of the audience and therefore simulate a cinema-going experience. I mean, the true cinema-going experience is sticky floors and overpriced popcorn, but I suppose some things are better off not fully realized. But the shows that adapted a live studio audience were often live performances, game shows, and of course sitcoms. Now, throughout the years, and even today, each of the three formats have kept the live studio audience, or at least the appearance of one, and we'll get to that in a bit. It makes sense for live performances. Bands typically play better in front of crowds after all. And with game shows, the audience adds a nice bit of pressure onto the contestants. But sitcoms? Why the fuck are they in sitcoms after all these years? It doesn't make any logical sense why this old archaic theatric is still lingering around, cause all it does now is hinder the jokes and pacing. I mean, you can look up one of those videos where they remove the laugh track and you can truly see how much dead air there is in between dialogue. It's very jarring if you've never seen one. And look, I recognize that humor is very subjective, but for me, I believe comedy works best when it's fast and snappy. The simple reason being, the faster you can get out jokes, the more jokes you can make. While at the same time, if a joke doesn't land, it doesn't matter because they don't linger on it and more jokes are coming out hot. The best example I can give of this is any work by Edgar Wright. Whether it's Hot Fuzz or Shaun of the Dead, jokes are getting slung out at breakneck pace, and it adds to the rewatchability. I mean, I've seen Hot Fuzz too many times to count, but every time I watch it, I pick up on a new little joke, because there's so much in there that no one could truly catch everything on their first watch through. Unlike Full House, where I got every joke and yet I ain't laughing. Oh, and yeah, they're laugh tracks now. The show could still be filmed in front of a live studio audience, but that doesn't mean they're not pumping in that laugh track whenever a writer phoned in a quote-unquote joke. I mean, hell, watch any episode of The Big Bongo Theory and you'll see just how much they abuse it.
One day this may double in value and be worth half what I paid for it.
I mean, that's not even really funny.
Have you made a decision about the TARDIS? I think I can sell it if we call it Big British Porta Potty.
Was that even a joke?
How is that fair? You grew up with the table.
Yes, but I mostly used it as a battlefield in an ongoing war between the Transformers and the Thundercats for control of a bra I had found in the woods.
Okay, those are just references. But the truth behind laugh tracks is that it actually maintains viewer attention and it lets people know when to laugh. Now, that may seem like a joke, but we live in a soul-crushingly capitalistic society. You work your 9 to 5, and when you come home, you're both physically exhausted and mentally exhausted. So you turn your brain off, and all you want to do is laugh. And when your brain is goop, sometimes you just need a light touch to know what to laugh at. It's kind of the sad truth. Anyways, 5 months of making videos, and I still don't know how to properly transition, so I'm just gonna... A sitcom both lives and dies by repetition. Mainly because a lot of sitcoms are either mirrors of family or friend groups, so when you get attached to these characters, you, in a sense, see them as an extension of your family or friends. And because of that, you don't want to see them change, because change is scary. Listen, we've all been there before. We've all been a part of friend groups that just naturally fell out. Either members within the group moved away, or everyone collectively grew up and drifted apart. It sucks, but it's a part of life. But if someone could capture the essence of that group dynamic and put it on television, would you want them to split up and go their own ways? No. Probably not. And the writers and executives know this. They know if they change things too much, it'll throw off the balance and people will stop watching. And that's why they follow a thing called the status quo. Basically what that means is that characters and their settings will relatively be the same, more or less. Any lessons they learn will be unlearned by the next episode, you know? Joey will always be dumb, Chandler will always be sarcastic, and Rachel will always be a bitch. Nothing changes. Or if something does change, it has to be gradual, like Monica and Chandler dating. A pretty big change to the status quo, although they are just dating within the pre-established friend group, so really, it's not that big of a change. Big changes and new characters are added to the cast really when the show is on its final legs, like Phoebe dating and marrying some new character in the final stretch of the show. Or that time in Full House where the Olsen twins were getting a bit too old to be cute, so they just threw in 2 twin babies. It's honestly whatever. It does make shows repetitive and pretty creatively bankrupt by the 4th or 5th season or so, but this is why I think sitcom finales are so sad for so many people, because it's when the status quo changes significantly and forever. Family sitcoms, whatever, those just kinda end. But the friend group centric sitcoms always end with the friend group going their own ways. Like, literally every single one of them, almost. I mean, it is realistic. And once again, after so many years of watching and getting to know these characters, you yourself feel like you're a part of that friend group. So when they split up, you feel that. And it doesn't matter how long the show ran for or how bad it's gotten near the end, people always feel sad and don't want it to end. And I get it. But there's a bigger problem with the status quo, and that's when a sitcom wants to cover a serious subject matter, aka episodes that cover substance abuse, divorce, racism, underage drinking, and other serious subjects. Now, my problem doesn't lie in the fact that they want to cover such topics. In fact, I think it's great, but my problem lies when you have to factor in the status quo. Because when you gotta keep the characters and setting the same, you gotta keep the serious subject matter at an arm's length. Can't have the mom and dad character get divorced, that's too drastic of a change. But you can have one of the kids' friends' parents get a divorce. That way you can still cover such a topic, while also never really diving deep into the subject. It's very hastily done. But what I mean though is they usually introduce a character that has never been seen on the show before, let alone mentioned, have their subject explored, and then they're discarded. Never to be seen again, never to be mentioned again, and the characters don't carry over anything they learned or experienced in that episode. And because of all that, these episodes feel very by the numbers and kind of fake. They're addressing things just for the sake of addressing things, while never going any further than that. However, the silver lining in it all is that they are at least making people aware and starting a conversation. It would be nice if they talked a bit more in that conversation themselves, but At least they started it. Of course, I'm generalizing here, and I'll probably be flooded with comments giving examples and whatnot, but trust me, I know. I'm just making a general observation. Some are done very well and feel organic, but I'm saying a vast majority are very sloppily handled. But those are my problems with sitcoms, along with them just being kind of generally corny, hokey, and cheesy. But where does the comfort come into all of this? Well, it's simple. It's what a lot of people use television for. Escapism. Listen, I don't have to tell you that everything going on in the world is fucking scary and stressful and uncertain. You guys are living through it just as much as I'm living through it. I'm sure we share many similar feelings and emotions to it all. But when you're exhausted by it all, you can just turn off your brain and get a cheap laugh. When you don't know where you're heading in life or even where the world is heading, you can always watch a sitcom where characters and settings stay stagnant in time. Sure, it's not the best content out there, but it reminds us of a simpler time. A time in which we could get along as a family. A time in which we could hang out with our friends. A time in which we could just laugh. Okay, so this video was supposed to end on that kind of somber note, but check out this new outro.